I'd just like to welcome everyone here tonight. We're very thankful to get another good crowd here for the Palmerston North Residents Group. We called it the Palmerston North Residents Group because all residents in Palmerston North are affected by our council decisions, and so we figured that that was a good name. I'm Chrissy Staples. I'm currently the chairperson of the group, and our guys, most of the committee are in high-vis vests here tonight. I'd just like to say a little bit about the group. We have been active for around about a year now, and looking at what the council does, and we want to make a difference in our city. We love our city. We love living here, as many of you do too, and are interested in many of the decisions that are being made on our behalf. So, yeah, we just want you to know that there will be no questions from the floor tonight during the first part of the meeting. Would you like to put that slide up for... Thank you, Nigel. We want to thank Nigel Jourdain for doing our slides tonight. But the introduction now, and then we're going to start the candidates pretty quickly. And then at 8 o'clock approximately, they will be finished. They're getting strictly 2 minutes each. And then they will be seated around the hall. You'll see some of the banners around now, and you can go to the people you want to talk to, and you can have it, ask them personal questions then.
Not too personal.
So we don't want people to hog the limelight, as it were, and please, if you've got questions about personal issues, you can contact the council and candidates later. They're all freely available to meet with people, I'm sure, and they have other meetings as well. So we do have to keep to a fairly strict time. And that will be really good. So without much ado, I'm going to ask our number one person, if you'd like to come up. Thank you.
How you going? Don't know if it's good or bad to be first up, but here we go. My name's Mark Gunning. I'm proud to have called Palmerston North my home for over 40 years. I found Palmerston North to be an ideal place to raise a family, develop a career and enjoy the many cultural, sporting and educational opportunities available. In my work capacity, I've dealt with council for many years, mainly on property related issues, and have generally found staff to be helpful and positive. I believe as someone who's been in the property industry throughout my career, having been involved in both small and large-scale developments, I offer unique expertise that will help decisions made on future council projects that will not only encourage fiscal responsibility but also help to ensure buildings are fit for purpose both now and into the future. Currently, this kind of property knowledge is probably lacking a wee bit at a councillor level. Decisions made at council affect people every day. I believe it is important that council is accountable for spending ratepayers' money, and it is vital that we make sensible, financially responsible decisions in a way that brings people together and benefits both local business and community. Thank you. In regards to my question, I've got the what do you perceive as the core functions of the council, and I understand it really sort of ties in with the central government about the 4 wellness things, being economic, environmental, social and cultural wellbeing, which is what basically has helped us to run what our core things are. From my point of view, I see the main things as being infrastructure, parks, gardens, roads, footpaths, rubbish collection, 3 waters, cemeteries, dog controls, and obviously cleaning of public toilets. So I think the core functions are reasonably easy to find for most people. They're what keeps the city running along smoothly. And I would like to give the council a big pat on the back. I think they do a great job with gardens and footpaths, gardens and the esplanade and things like that. Thank you very much.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's William Wood, and it's a pleasure to be here in front of you all tonight. I'm standing for council for one pretty simple reason. I'm scared of the direction our long-term plan sets us in. Our rates in the city are set to double in the next 10 years and debt's set to increase significantly. I have a strong record in reducing nice-to-have council expenditure. I supported motions in the long-term plan to not spend $55 million on a new shared pathway out to Ashurst and Fielding. I proposed the motion at the most recent annual budget to reduce our consultancy spend by over $1 million. So I have a clear record of not just talking about the problem, but actually putting my hand up and doing something about it. But I also believe investing in our community where necessary. I was proud to second the motion to extend our gold card car parking for our seniors from 9 till 3 p.m. on weekdays as a way of giving back to those in our community who've given so much to us. I'm proud to have supported increasing our roading and footpath maintenance to make sure that we look after what we've got in this city. So if you put me as your number one choice, I promise if I'm back around the table to continue to be a voice for common sense and sensible spending. Thank you. Now, the question I've got's a good one. What's one big challenge you see Palmerston North facing over the next 3 years? And the answer is simple. We have to build a new wastewater treatment plant. Our consent's running out in the next few years and we've got to get on and do the job. And when I first stood for council, they said it's about a $400 million project, William. Then I got on council and they said it's a $550 million project. And then at the long-term plan, they said it's a $650 million project. So I was proud to be a supporter of the motion to pull that back in, to set a smaller budget and say, go back to the drawing board and bring us a new plan. And I'm very excited that we're now looking at options with a high-quality treated discharge into the river that range from 290 to 350 million, not 650 million. And we're going to need sensible heads around the table to make sure that we get a good but affordable result for our community, because in no world is a city of 80 to 90,000 people going to be able to pay over $500 million for a new wastewater treatment plant. And I promise I'll be that voice.
Thanks for coming out tonight. My name is Tobias Nash. I'm a secondary teacher and a parent. I was born in Palmerston North, and I came back here in 2017 to do teacher training, and we've lived here, my family and I, ever since. I'm standing for council to combat the issue of youth violence and also to promote community well-being. I did some polling earlier in the year when I was thinking about running, and that was the top issue that people had, was crime and safety. And when I asked further follow-up questions, they said youth crime and intimidation. So what I want to do about that is I'm working on developing a youth liaison network. We're trying to connect with those kids, some of whom I know already. A lot of my students and some of their friends are the ones who are out there getting in trouble. So I'm trying to build a drop-in centre, a community gym where those hard-to-reach kids, the ones who are currently falling through the cracks, who might not go to somewhere like Youth Space or Youth One-Stop Shop, can come and we can connect them with the services and the community organisations who are best placed to help them. Apart from that, some of the things that I think make me a strong candidate for the council are my facility with things like mathematics and statistics. I'm currently a graduate student studying psychology, and I was doing some work in data science last year. And the question that I have here is, what is one upcoming future challenge that you see the council facing in the future, and what is a solution that you would suggest for it? A big challenge that I see for the council and for the national government is the same kind of thing that's happening all around the world, of cost blowouts and the profit motive and the privatisation of a lot of the resources that we have, which is taken away from the common good and putting money into the pockets of big business. So I think one thing that we can do to try and improve some of the costs that the council faces in the future is, instead of paying for private contractors, the council needs to start building up its own capacity to be able to solve some of these problems itself. We need to start small but have a scalable solution where we can build up our own capacity to solve these problems, have our own industrial plant and staff, and then eventually we'll be able to solve a lot of these problems without having to pay for expensive contracts and see the kind of cost blowouts that we've had trouble with recently. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Zakk Rokkanno. This is the second time I've run. To put it shortly, I believe we need a very strong council, one that's focused on the community and getting things done. I'm not a follower of party politics. I believe they're destructive. I believe in looking at every issue, every innovation, and every upgrade based on need. What's the priority? What good will it bring to the community? And the most important thing, cost effectiveness. The second part of the question, I'll answer regarding that, but I feel we need to look very, very much into the costs of these projects. How much is it costing ratepayers? How much can we reduce costs without reducing the effectiveness of the projects we're looking at? And making sure that ratepayers are getting more bang for their buck and not having skyrocketing rates. I mean, are we getting anything to show for with all these rate increases? I feel we need to look at this very strongly. Cost effectiveness and very strong evaluation of the projects. So that's me. Now, the question I was given is how would I keep rates down and should they be capped? A very good question. Keeping rates down can only be done by strong looking at whatever project we're looking at, not feeding the back pockets of contractors. I don't understand why the government or local bodies use contractors, because they're profit-based. And all those profits are coming out of the ratepayers' money, and they're not going towards what they should be. So, okay, cheers.
Kia ora, good evening. My name is Brent Barrett. I've been in Palmerston North 25 years, came here to work in science and got involved in council. Eventually, I'm in my third term on council. I'm endorsed by the Greens. Council is very much about teamwork and working together to get things done on behalf of the community. Just three things I'd like to highlight in terms of recent contributions. The first is around empowering community and leading the vote that helped win the fight to keep the new highway toll-free. The second is around leading the council vote for a rating system that starts to take the whole property value into account. That choice means that most ratepayers are better off than under the old land value system, and that's especially true for older homes. And something that'll probably play to mixed reception here, I'm proud of what we've achieved in Featherston Street. We've seen an 80% reduction. We'll see an 80% reduction in accidents and above average economic performance. So my question was around what we would do around strengthening council buildings or doing new capital builds. The answer is we need to do some of each of those things, and that fits quite well in terms of my overall view around affordability. We need to make sure that we have smart investments. We need to make sure that we're tapping into non-rates revenue where we can. I'd like to see the airport dividend get up to something respectable. We can continue to review how rates are levied and drive down the fixed charges. And yes, we can cut spending. For my view, the biggest cost we face in terms of spending is sprawling growth. It's particularly expensive to serve infrastructure as it sprawls out further and further from the city center. So if I was going to make cuts, I'd be cutting back in that space. Thank you.
Tēnā koutou Residents Group of Palmerston North. Thank you for everyone. Okay. Well, tēnā koutou Residents Group of Palmerston North. Thank you to everyone attending tonight for showing you care for our city. My name is Riddick and I am standing for Mayor. Now yes, I'm not a career politician. I don't have the flashbackers in a shiny suit and I don't have a big budget so I can get a 20-foot billboard and hand out flyers around town. No, I'm just a local. What I have is hard work, a passion to help my city, and a community of good people that stand behind me. I could stand here and speak about my policies and what I do to intend to help our city, but we don't have all night. The Mayor, they don't run the city, that's left to the CEO. The Mayor is the face of our city and the voice of our people. They should be able to be someone that brings all of our communities together, not just some. My question, William Wood alluded onto it, it is how to reduce money on our wastewater system. So there are plenty of ways that we can do this. One, we could break it into small stages. What we need to do urgently, a medium fix, and then our long-term goal. That allows us time to secure government funding or private funding from co-funders. We need to partner with central governments or iwi to help fund our waters. We can improve the infrastructure and water flow issues. We're improving our stormwater, getting the wastewater pipes up to standard, which I do compel that our current council has done a good job. We need to have a community engagement that works with local and conservation. Thank you.
Kia ora, good evening. My name is Vaughan Dennison. Councils today face many challenges: rising costs, limited funding, and complex water reforms, just to name a few. I offer a reasoned voice, a positive approach, and over 20 years of proven experiences, working hard for you, your family, and our city's future. Examples of that have been speaking against and opposing the Featherston Street cycleway, keeping their key projects down and deferring them out to latter years. Serving you has been a privilege. This term I've chaired strategy and finance and kept focused on core infrastructure and investment into sport and recreation facilities for our active community, while providing some financial prudence in my decision making. I hold a clear vision, one that's for a safe, connected, future-focused Palmerston North for all generations today and for the future. My question is, what key reasons do you attribute to the rising rapid costs of rates, and how would you propose to mitigate it? There is no question in my view that a lot of the capital projects are loaded in the front end. I have a deep concern that that is unsustainable. That is proven by the external auditor who says our financial modelling is caused an adverse effect in questioning where the third-party revenue is coming from and how we can ask our residents for such high rate demands. I align with that view. When we're up against inflation running at over 20% and wage growth being something like 12%, that creates a cost of living crisis. My only approach would be to either delete, defer or decrease some of these budgets ahead of us so we can actually have some more reasonable rate requests in the future. Thank you.
Good evening, Palmerston North. I'm Mark Arnott. It's been an honour to serve you as a councillor since 2022, and I've got a 100% attendance record to ensure your voice is heard. I stood for common sense, opposing the likes of the Featherston Street roading disaster, fighting to keep rate rises down, and voting recently against reckless new borrowing of up to $49 million. We must live within our means. Every dollar councillors spend comes from you and me, and I'll keep treating it as if it was my own. That means focusing on core infrastructure, water, waste, roads, safety, without piling on more debt for today and tomorrow. I've worked hard for you and I'll continue to do so. Re-elect Mark Arnott for a smarter and sustainable future for Palmerston North. The question I have, is there enough industrial growth in Palmerston North? If not, how could Council help expand growth? Right now, Palmerston North has some industrial growth, but not enough to keep up with our population and economic needs. Council can play a big part in encouraging more by making sure land is zoned and ready for development, and by keeping infrastructure like roads, water and power reliable and affordable. We also need to cut red tape so businesses can get consents quickly and with certainty, partnering with central government and private investors to attract manufacturing and technology. Jobs will help diversity, the local economy. If Council focuses on being focused and business friendly and keeping costs down, we can turn Palmerston North into a real hub for industrial growth. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jackie Wheeler, and I'm very proud to be a volunteer and worked in Palmerston North for many years. Through my work as a lactation consultant, I've been welcomed to many households. I've seen firsthand and felt the challenges people are facing, and I know how urgently we need to take control of the rising costs in our city. Palmerston North is a beautiful city, full of resources, but for too many people it's becoming harder and harder to enjoy living here. Rates keep climbing and daily life is made more difficult by congested streets and planning decisions that simply don't work in practice. We need a city that flows better, where people can get where they need to go and where emergency services can move around freely. That means making smarter decisions. We must reduce unnecessary spending, especially the excessive amounts that go to consultants. And it's time to step away from local government NZ, LGNZ. 8 other councils have already left, and for good reasons. They provide no real benefit, only adds extra costs. Palmerston North deserves a council that puts people first, keeping rates fair, making our city easy to live in, and ensuring that every dollar is spent wisely. Right. Thank you. Right, my question, how could council better support commercial growth in the city? Well, one way is to reduce the rates. Again, the rates. Our residential rates are bad enough. Commercial rates are even worse. Pretty high, and especially for a new commercial venture might be starting up, like the a hotel in the corner in town there. Huge rates for a piece of land that high, that valuable. So how does someone start up something in Palmerston North when they've got to pay such huge rates? Maybe have a relief for a couple of years to stop that happening. So that's something that is pretty horrendous. They also put a lot of time, the council puts a lot of money into consultants, again for consultants for commercial properties, and that is something that needs to be looked at as well. Oh, that was fast. Okay, thank you.
Kia ora koutou. My name's Michael Morris. I'm standing for Mayor. I'm an environmental scientist and policy advisor, and I'm standing to represent 3 things. Firstly, I believe I'm the only candidate here, others can correct me if I'm wrong, who is standing for the most marginalised members of our society, and I'm talking about non-human animals. So I've been an animal activist for many years. Secondly, the environment. So justice for animals, justice for the environment. And my third concern is marginalised people. And the 3 are connected. There's been lots of research ever since the Spirit Level was published that more equal, democratically equal societies, more democratically equal societies are kinder to the environment and to non-human animals. So those will be my policies. My question: what do you think of the high-density residential growth in the city, and should council planning accelerate or restrict these high-density developments? High-density development is written into the National Policy Statement for Urban Development. It's intended to encourage high density around public transport hubs and places where people can move around. On the whole, I think it's a great idea. It's part of the 15-minute city concept where everyone can live, work, play and socialise within 15 minutes of where they are. It's better for community and better for the environment. But there are limits. I think that having apartments that are as tiny as you can possibly get and having people cramming them in it is a bad idea because of the psychological problems. I mean, I know, yes, people can choose to live in those or not, but in the end, I think it'll be bad for our society. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Nelson Harper, and my background is in chemical bioprocess engineering. I studied here in Massey in Palmerston North. Palmerston North is where I've grown my business, so I started a family with my wife Justine, and it's where I found community. So I honestly do love this city, and anyone who knows me will be able to see that. Outside of that, I chair the New Zealand Institute for International Affairs for the city. I'm a board member for Just Zilch, so I see the impacts that the cost of living is having on people, and I run my business Pre-Cycle NZ. So I work with councils and large businesses across the Lower North Island to really understand infrastructure and be able to propose ways that they can reduce the costs and create more effective systems. So this is something that I care about a lot. So if I was to be elected for council, I have the knowledge, the technical knowledge, I have the community connections and the real understanding to be able to make good decisions for the community. So I've been given a question, I wish I could answer multiple because I do love this stuff. Do I think that councillors should be endorsed by political parties and that they should vote according to that, or what's in the interest of ratepayers? I think that all decisions should be made on what's best for the city. I think that's a pretty clear-cut answer. For me, personally, I'm running independent. because I don't feel that I align with any particular parties at all. I care about businesses and growing the economy. I care about the environment and having a clean city. And I also care about communities and making sure that people are looked after and Palmy is a place that people want to live. And this is something that I care a lot about. And I think that this is something that's achievable to balance, not by putting those costs onto ratepayers, but by looking at other opportunities to bring in money, to bring in revenue, which we've done quite well as a city through things like the recycling centre and offering that to other councils. But thank you.
Kia ora, my name is Richard Woolgar and I'm a water infrastructure engineer. I solve problems for a living. I come home with dirt on my boots and grease on my hands, and for years I've worked on the pipes, pumps and treatment plants that keep this city running. I know what it takes to build things that last. That's why I get frustrated when our council prioritises form over function and makes decisions based on ideology rather than viability. I'm standing because we need more common sense and a blue-collar work ethic in the council table. I'm someone who knows the value of a hard day's work, will ask the hard questions, and will always put the needs of the city first. I don't just talk about infrastructure, I build it. And I will bring that same grit and practical problem solving when I hold my future colleagues to account in the council chamber. Together, we will build a stronger, smarter, more resilient city. My question is, in these challenging economic times, should Palmerston North concentrate on core mandated functions or become involved in social programs? Why? I believe that we should definitely 100% focus on core mandated functions. Unlike many of you out there, I have actually been waist deep in the wastewater plant of our sludge tank. So I've seen our core infrastructure up close. But I have a 7-year-old son, and I want him to grow up that in 10 or 15 years' time, I want him to be able to not inherit a city that's full of potholes and leaking pipes. So 100% we should be focusing on our core infrastructure. Thank you.
My father would have said, "Oh yeah, g'day." Kia ora, I'm Adrian Phillips. I live in the metropolis of Ashurst, and I'm standing because I love the city like everyone else here, and I believe, though, that Palmerston North should be invigorating, a place where families live, thrive, businesses grow, and our community spirit soars. At the moment, I wouldn't suggest the city's spirit soars, and I think it's important that we feel something positive for the city as well. Rates are a big issue. Control of council spending is vital, and we have to be able to prioritise the larger projects that we have in front of us, including water infrastructure, and not get sidetracked with nice-to-haves when we've got people struggling to live. I've spent 40 years in business, from financial services to retail and distribution. I know how to read a balance sheet. More importantly, I know how to listen to people. Business coach, business mentor. We need to drive the city, and this kind of fits with the question that I've been thrown. Now, I'm number 13 up here, so good news for you guys, because I'm 1/3 through. Bad news for me, because I got the curly question. The Auditor General report on Palmerston North City Council was a budget was one of the worst in New Zealand. How would you work to change the situation in the next 3 years? The changes are about managing process, managing priorities, and trying to remember that we're here representing you. I'm not standing for election for any political party. I'm standing here to represent Kiwis and my colleagues in the city. George Bernard Shaw once put it, "Progress depends on those who refuse to accept the world as it is and insist instead on improving it." That's why I'm standing for council.
Right, my feet are a little wet, my mouth's a little dry, so if I put my foot in my mouth, you'll know why. Now, I wasn't born in Palmerston North, unfortunately, but I had the good fortune to win the lottery, and I married a woman who was and who's raised here. which kind of made us gravitate towards Palmerston North, and I love it here. I think I've lived in cities in many places in different parts of the world, and I love this more than anything, any place I've been. My name's, sorry, I forgot that, yeah, what's my name? Eric Judd. And as someone said earlier about they might be the only one representing animals, but I'm the one with the picture of the dog on his poster. Anyway, who I am, I'm an actuary by profession. If you don't know what that is, basically I look at numbers, analyse them and try and make sense of them and what impact they're going to have on the future. That's what I do, and also I've experience in governance and on boards, various boards. My question is, how do you think you can make the council more efficient? It's an old adage that if you don't measure something, it won't improve. So the important thing is that we have good measurements and hold them accountable to it. I think we should have measurements for CEO and the council as well. I also think that they should be regularly reported on and put in a place for the public to see them. And that way the accountability is there, we're all responsible for it. Another efficient way is in the decision-making process. I've got the feeling about the Featherston Road Street, I think that was a dog's breakfast from the start myself. Yeah. And correcting decisions like that will save money in the long run.
Shorties here. Hi, I'm. Put it down. I don't know. That's it. Hi, I'm Leonie Hapeta. I've been on council for 12 years and I'd like to be re-elected. I've been in business for 30 years. Some of it's been successful and some of it hasn't been successful. I just like to put it out there. Like on council, some of our projects have been successful and some haven't. And I'm talking about Featherston Street. I'm putting that out there. I didn't vote for Featherston Street. I was fully against it. But there have been some projects on council that have been really good. Let's talk about the bridge that goes across the river that you can walk across. That's a very successful project. Let's talk about the arena, another very successful project. So there are some very successful projects that the council has done. If you elect me, I also support things like roads and growth for the city, but re-elect Leonie Hapeta, and I'll be good round the council table. My question, moving on to the next one, is a question that I was really excited to get, is how would you make council management more transparent and accountable? Now, Eric stole a little bit of my thunder. I think he read my question while I was sitting down. What I would do, we all get a rate bill in the mail. I think what should happen on the rate bill is we should get a little scorecard. And on the scorecard, we should actually see how management is doing each rate bill. So we should have a little scorecard. And what it should say on the scorecard is how the council is doing in terms of its balance sheet, in terms of its people, in terms of how it's performing each quarter. And you should know as ratepayers. So that's what I would do. Thank you. Vote for Leonie Hapeta.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ezra Meehan. I'm here to speak on behalf of Billy Meehan, who is currently overseas representing the country at a national boxing tournament. Billy Meehan is standing for re-election because he cares deeply about Palmerston North, the city where he was born, he raised his 8 children, and where the majority of his 20 grandchildren now call home. He wants our city to remain a place where families thrive, young people are supported, and older citizens are valued and respected. The city's debt and rates are rising out of control, and people are feeling the pressure. Billy believes we need to get back to basics, living within our means and focusing on essential services. He has a proven track record of standing up for our community, advocating for longer parking hours for seniors, working with at-risk youth daily, and voting against the Featherstone Street road changes because he believes we need safe, practical solutions, not experiments that block emergency services. With decades of leadership as a volunteer, youth member, a youth mentor and national sports coach, Billy knows how to work with others, make tough decisions and get results. For a community-focused future, vote Meehan again. For my question, I didn't have time to ring Billy and ask him about it, but I'm sure, here's what I would say, whatever the right answer is, he would say that. Yeah. He's a good man. He's a good man that stands for good people, so vote Meehan.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming here tonight, listen to our voices. I'm Zakk Rokkanno. I'm a Chinese. If I were to be elected, then I will be the first Chinese for Palmerston North. So I have a passion to serve, and I will be your voice and your actions. And you know that Chinese people are good in mathematics and economics, especially future economics. You're talking about saving, you know. So if I were to be elected, I will do things like I'm going to highlight the city so that the city will not be so boring. I will make it as a tourism hub so that we can bring in the tourists and make full use of the airport. So there's a lot of plan that is in my mind, but to execute it, I had to be in the council. So, and the next thing I will do is that I will give a special rate for the elderly people who are not making money or pensioner. So my question is, the public submission are called for, so councillor vote according to the majority of the submitter viewpoint rather than personal political ideology of reference. Of course, the public come first because the majority of the public must come first. But they may not know the cause or the consequences of, maybe they miss out the consequences of what they vote for. So if I am the person, I will respect the majority, but at the same time, I will give them a warning that this may not go according to plan, and it may affect the future or, oh, okay, thank you very much.
Well, kia ora koutou. My name is Orphée Mickalad. 20 years ago, I came to New Zealand as a former refugee from the Congo, and Palmerston North nurtured me to thrive. I grew up here, went to Freiburg High School and Messi University. Over the last 4.5 years, I've had the privilege to serve you as a city councillor, and it remains an honor and privilege for me to serve you at the council table and represent your priorities at the council table. And today, I pledge to continuously work hard on behalf of Palme's many diverse communities. I'm running for mayor because I believe that Palmerston North is at a turning point, and we need a change of leadership, direction, and approach. This isn't just about management of the status quo, but it is about setting a clear direction for our city or where our city can go. Grounded in my lived experience, civic leadership, and my faith, and a deep love for our city, I'm standing to offer practical, forward-thinking leadership that delivers on Palmerston North's potential. At present, Palmerston North is facing mounting pressures from raising rates, housing costs, climate change challenges, population growth, and also aging infrastructure and sweeping central government reforms. These issues demand leadership with a plan. As your mayor, I will seek to diversify council's revenue streams to ensure that we take the pressure off ratepayers. And I'll proactively lobby central government to get the best investment deals for Palmerston North. And I'll also offer to sell council's unused land or assets and also sell airport shares in order to alleviate the rating burden on Palmerston North residents. The question that I got today was question 18. How do you intend to reduce spending based on local government minister introducing a bill to remove the four wellbeing provisions from Local Government Act so that council can refocus on core functions? Well, I supported Minister Simeon Brown on this. We can simply do this by reviewing our spending priorities in a bid to ensure that ratepayers' money is spent on essential and core services. Thank you very much.
Kia ora, I'm Grant Smith and I'm restanding for the City Mayoralty. I have a head for business, a heart for the community and a passion for Palmerston North. Past councils that I have led have attracted investment, built infrastructure and facilities that have significantly changed the face of the city, turning Palmerston North into a vibrant, heterogenic city of choice that it is today. The economy, our infrastructure and our people are going to be my top priorities as we move through these tougher economic times. So we must support pathways for our residents and businesses. Palmerston North has an extremely resilient and diverse economy, supporting thousands of jobs, and steered correctly can navigate these headwinds to make the most of our opportunities. I've made myself accessible with over 160 drop-in sessions at the front of house weekly and Ashurst meetings monthly. I've attended over 2,600 community and resident events in the past term. I've championed city and regional catalytic projects around transport and distribution, the Tutanganui Central New Zealand hub, regional passenger and freight rail investments, the regional freight ring road and our city centre's revitalisation with the new hotel. Oh, I think this is against me. I'll ensure that our regional waters entity is established and the city's Nature Calls project is affordable, sustainable, consented and underway. I'll promote the city's regional food and our world-class research and innovation, and I'll proudly champion our community, including multicultural, arts and heritage, environment and sporting sectors, advocating for their funding. So re-elect Grant Smith, number one for Mayor. And our thing there, our question is around how would you consider trimming the budget to help ease the burden of the current cost of living crisis? Well, obviously that is really difficult. We'd obviously look for efficiencies wherever possible, but actually gaining other external money is really critical. For instance, our city, examples of that would be trying to get either public-private partnerships or external funding for city facilities. Anyway, vote Grant Smith for Mayor. Thank you.
Kia ora, my name is Karen Naylor and I'm seeking re-election because I care deeply for my community, but I'm hearing loud and clear from my community that they've had enough of high rates increases and they want council to listen and respond. I've been working really hard to try to do that. Council's long-term plan has over $2 billion worth of capital programs and many of these projects are non-essential. It's no surprise to me that Audit New Zealand has given that plan an adverse opinion. Only 20% of that capital program is for existing infrastructure and 80% is new stuff, and much of that we just don't need. Like any household on a fixed income, we should be choosing what is important to do now, what can wait till later, and in some circumstances, what should we not be doing at all. I have the experience, the skills and the determination to try and change this trend. I've actively pursued budget reductions and we've had some success, but this needs a majority vote. So my question is, do you feel that the massive investment of ratepayer funds on the Civic Marae at Anzac Park should take precedence over more necessary operational needs? My answer to that is absolutely no. Our current debt is $283 million, and that's proposed to escalate to $553 million in the next 8 years. We simply can't keep borrowing for nice-to-have projects, and I feel that this project hasn't had the majority of community support. I proposed earlier this year to defer this project. This vote failed 6-9. The business case for this project indicates that a significant level of rate subsidy each year would need to go in to prop it up. And that doesn't even include paying down the debt or the interest. Council's investment into that is 14 million. Vote for Karen.
Good evening. I'm Kaydee Zabelin and I'm standing for re-election because our city and our council are facing really big changes and a lot of government mandates, and we need to strengthen our foundations so we can handle what's coming, and we need to look after what we've got, and that's what I'm focused on. Council needs to make more progress on our essential infrastructure like our stormwater, our footpaths and our roading, and we also need to do a lot better at sticking to our own policies, especially when it comes to funding requests. Since being elected in 2022, I've built a reputation for doing my homework obsessively, asking hard questions, cutting red tape, and calling out dodgy process in the strongest terms I'm allowed to use in the council. And I spend a lot of time out in the community hearing what's on people's minds and what they like about living here, so that we don't lose sight of what makes Palmerston North a good home to the people who live here. With all of the costs rising and change coming from every direction, we just can't afford to be reactive to all this change. We need to look after what we've got, we need a plan to get through it, and I'm here to make sure that we've got one. My question is quite long, it's up there. It's about taking petitions seriously, upholding my oath of office and supporting what's best for the city as a whole. I'm an analyst by training, and petitions absolutely count as evidence about what community views are, as are submissions, public comment, and we also weigh up technical evidence, legal advice and financial advice. So responsible decision making requires us under oath and under legislation to have regard to all of those things. We hold all of those strands and we give them weight accordingly on an issue-by-issue basis. I'm on record for supporting many petitions and clear feedback decisions, such as the feedback against the Linklater Reserve on-leash proposal, the Waterloo land swap, the 350 Papaioia petition, and the Purity Terrace residents petition. And I've also spoken out really strongly when we have allowed certain vested interests to supersede processes that we've set out and overturn decisions. Thank you.
Hold on, short person incoming. Kia ora, I'm Rachel Bowen and I'm standing for re-election in the General Ward for Palmerston North City Council. My professional background is in training and development, but these days alongside council I work in relationship management. I chose to make Palmerston North my home more than 20 years ago when my husband and I moved here, and this has been a great place to raise our 3 children. And it's also been a huge privilege to help shape our community over the last 12 years that I've been on council. Our council provides an absolutely brilliant range of services and community support. And of course we cover the basics, and we do it really well: roads, waters, rubbish. But there's also our incredible libraries, museum, playgrounds, pools, theatres, sports fields, and I could go on. It's that stuff that makes this a fantastic place to live. And I'm committed to building a sustainable, equitable, compassionate city that's vibrant, connected, and safe. You can trust me to turn up, to listen, to engage, and to work hard on your behalf. And so I'm asking for your number 1 vote in this election. Thank you. Now, the question I had: do you agree with central government's request that council spending concentrate more on needs-to-haves than nice-to-haves? And a council colleague who saw I got this laughed and said, "Rachel, I've heard you make this speech 1,000,000 times." And I have. Because when anybody can agree on those definitions, then maybe we can have the conversation. At the moment, the government is asking or suggesting what they think are our need-to-haves. And in their list, which is out for discussion at the moment, they managed to forget things that councils are required to do under legislation, like animal control, for example, didn't make the list. So when we know what is a need-to-have, then we can talk about it. But until then, we all disagree.
Right. Evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kayne Dunlop, and I am standing for council this time around for the first time. My background is I grew up in and around Manawatu in Palmerston North. As you do when you're a young person, you sometimes disappear and then realise what you missed out on and come back again. I now have the pleasure of bringing up my family here in Palmerston North. And what has attracted us back here, and what has been spoken about many times already tonight, is the opportunities that Palmerston North present itself. And it's not just the opportunities of employment, but it's the opportunities in terms of the facilities that Palmerston North has, and the great place, I suppose, to bring up a family and create a great atmosphere. Why I'm standing for Palmerston North City Council is I believe it's a great potential within the city to continue to grow it. We've got the ability to attract a whole range of talent to our city to help our businesses thrive and help our communities continue to grow. But there needs to be deliberate decisions made to do that. We have to make conscious actions or take conscious actions to make sure that we make good decisions and end up with the results that we're after at the end of the day. In terms of my question, I got one around the size of our council in proportion to our population. And I suppose first of all, it's a quirk of history as to how we ended up with 16 councillors in the first place. From what I can gather, it's based around our old boroughs and how they all amalgamated and came together. And a bit like turkeys voted for Christmas, politicians never really voted themselves down in number. And just like the MPs never want to go from 120 down to 100, councillors have never wanted to reduce the size of council. When we look at the way that how big Palmerston North is and the decisions that are there to be made, I think it's fair to say we can definitely function effectively by reducing our council members. I don't think there's a reason why we have to stick to 16 as we've gone through, and most of you in this room are old enough to remember the wards and how it's changed over time. There's no reason we have to stick with 16 just because that's what's been done in the past. We need to look at the scope of that and make sure that we meet the needs of the city. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Verne Wilson, a proud resident of Palmerston North. Standing to make a positive difference for the city I was born in and where my grandchildren are growing up. As a businessman and retailer in the city centre, for the past 17 and a half years, I've owned and operated the coffee club on the square. I believe in hard work, staying resilient, and focusing on doing the basics well. 6 years ago, I helped establish the Business Improvement District, known as BID, and I currently serve as co-chair on the board. BID advocates for retailers, landlords, and everyone using our CBD. We're committed to making Palmerston North a safer city, supporting initiatives like reinstating police on the beat and running the Safe City Host to assist with the nighttime safety. Council decisions must be made with common sense, a business mindset, and a focus on delivering real value to residents. I bring both business experience and life skills to the table, and I'm committed to making smart, people-first choices for Palmerston North. Let's build a city that works for everyone. Now, my question, if a councillor is endorsed by a political party, should the councillor vote according to the party policy if it conflicts with the interest of Palmerston North ratepayers? Wow. Who puts the councillor in there? You, the ratepayer. What right has a political party got to take that vote away from you? None. In fact, a political party shouldn't be involved in local body elections or local body politics in any way. We saw a good result of this in the Featherston Street debacle, where all those that had political party affiliations voted for their party, not for the ratepayer. Thank you everyone for the invitation.
Good evening, my name is Lew Findlay, and since the mid-1990s, my wife Miriam and myself have basically dedicated ourselves to the community in Palmerston North. We've been involved in so many organisations, I couldn't even mention a few. I've been asked what would I say was the success I've been involved since I've been in council. Without doubt, to me, it's getting the gold card parking for older people. The first time we brought that to council, one councillor stood up and says, why should we give old people free parking? They're living high on the gold card. Well, in my work with Grey Power, I haven't met many yet that are. Older people deserve to be recognised in this city. And this city has in its last term. My question, what do you think the core functions of council are? Rats, roads, rates and water. But you know, there's one other one which is bigger and more important. It's the people. It's the people that count. And until a council learns to put people first and listen to what people are saying, we're going to have nothing but what we've had. My biggest failure in council was not to convince 8 other councillors to vote against that dog's breakfast named Ferguson Street. If a few more of us had had the moral standing to say no, we wouldn't have buses parking in the middle of the road. Now, what idiot could think of that as an advantage? Thank you. Vote for Lew.
Good evening. My name is Hayden Fitzgerald and I stand for a back to basics approach. Council must refocus on core services, fixing roads, maintaining infrastructure, keeping our city clean and safe and delivering value for money. Ratepayers deserve better. I am committed to cutting waste and ensuring your money is spent wisely to avoid large rates increases. Council has been distracted by nice-to-haves while essential services suffer. Anti-car ideology has led to parking issues and failures like the Featherston Street redevelopment. Palmerston North is a provincial city. We need practical roading and parking solutions that support local people and businesses. I am a local businessman and financial advisor. I bring real-world experience, independence, and a focus on accountability and results. It's time for PNCC to operate more efficiently, responsibly, and with more common sense. Thank you. Funnily enough, my question is, how would you keep rates down and should they be capped? So it's quite ironic that I'd sort of already pre-prepared that. But so obviously refocusing on core services, line by line analysis of council expenditure. There's a lot of stuff in there that can be cut and we should be looking for that. Do I support rates capping? Yes, I do. The government's making some moves in this area and I support that. And we need councillors that are prepared to work with the government direction, not fight it every step of the way at ratepayers' expense. Thank you.
Evening, everybody. Firstly, thank you for coming out tonight. We appreciate it. I certainly do. My name is Dave Poppelwell. Some of you more senior people may remember me from the old days in Radio 2's a Day. I've been travelling around the country managing radio stations, ended up in Auckland as a talk host, been in the international hotel industry, construction industry, and had a couple of my own businesses. Outside of that, I'm a musician. I enjoy playing in bands. I currently do the administration for MedLab at the Palms, so when you come in for your blood test next time, we'll say hello. Why am I standing for council? I'm also a commentator at the Robinson Prestige International Speedway. Got to get that in. Why am I standing for council? I think this city has got a lot more to go. The biggest thing the council should be concentrating on is the basics, the sewage, the water, and also the rubbish supplies. I think that's very, very important, and keep the rates down. No point living in a city when you can't afford to do so. My question is, what do you think of high-density residential growth in the city, and should council planning accelerate or restrict these high-density developments? I've got to be honest with you, not a fan of them. I've seen a lot of high density developments around the country. They're fine for the first few years and they somehow seem to deteriorate. I'm not sure that's the answer we need for Palmerston North. We've got to look at new ways and new housing systems. That's why the council has got to get creative, and that's why we've got to get creative people on the council who can look at things in a different way and come up with new ideas. So when you vote, I appreciate your support, and once again, thank you for coming out here tonight. I appreciate it.
Good evening, my name's Bruce McGeck and I'm standing in for Glen Williams, who's standing for the ACT Party in the General Ward. Glen gives his apologies, he couldn't make it tonight. Now Glen has been a businessman in Palmerston North for a number of decades. He does those greenhouses, you know, the animal shelters too. Glen asked me to bring up something with you, and that's Featherston Street. I live on Featherston Street. When you're coming from the Mitre 10 end of it in the centre lane and someone presses that pedestrian button, you'll be lucky to get 3 cars through that intersection, the major intersection in Palmerston North. It's anti-car and it's not good enough. Glen gets in, he'll do his utmost to stop those anti-car decisions being made. The next, my question you can see is about making the council more efficient. Let's talk about why first that's important. How many folk here are retired folk? Retired folk get a pension of about 21 to 27,000 gross. They've got a bit of a savings. And when the council puts up rates by about $1,000 over 3 years on an average house, a pensioner cannot afford that. They watch that nest egg start to burn away. We're obliged as a city to help out folk like that, as well as young families with only one person working, to ensure we can make our council as efficient as we can. And we can look to our neighbours, Wanganui District Council, to see how they've done that. 2%. 2% was what they charged. Thank you very much.
Well, we've done quite well at keeping it time, haven't we? We've been quite strict on these guys. They're all telling me that the 2 minutes goes so fast. Anyway, now we're going to, supper's going to be served up and it's going to carry on for about an hour. So you have an hour to come and get a coffee and go and chat to all the candidates around the room. Now, if you haven't got a sign, would you come up on the stage, please? If you don't have a sign with you, come up on the stage and you can speak to people. You can come up on the stage and talk to some of them, or go around the room and have a chat. And if you see too many people at one station, just go on to someone else. In the meantime, you'll get a chance to talk to them all.